What's going on, Squirrel Squad? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Doing good, doing good. All right, all right. Hey, look, it's Al Murray. It's our buddy Al. Hey, Think Hard and Be Kind suggested a few different reactions over on the Discord server. And I saw Al Murray. I was like, ooh, an Al. Oh, boy. I love Al. You guys know I love Al. So this is Euro Crisis Explained. I think it was back in 2012. But, hey, I'm down because you know it's going to be funny as hell. It's Al. So I hope you guys are doing good today. I hope you're doing well. Let's watch some Al Murray together for the first time here. Hit the subscription button, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun little toys, buttons, bells, and whistles. It's Al Murray time. Let's do it.
Do this. Times are tough right now, of course. Because the old Euro crisis. Now, the Euro crisis is very complicated. And the Euro crisis is so bad right now. It's so bad, the Euro crisis right now. The world is looking to the Germans for leadership and the French for moral courage. I mean, whichever way you cut that, that's a fuck up, isn't it? Truth with the Euro is it's very, very complicated. The Euro crisis is extremely complicated. It's extremely complicated. It's so complicated, no one can explain it satisfactorily, right? Now, Paul, maths teacher, you must have paid attention to some of this. Yeah? Explain the Euro crisis for me. Go. Come on, Polly.
Spent too much money.
Spent too much money. Okay, right. Good answer. I like it.
I was going to explain it in
but
3 words.
Truth is, mate, it's much more complicated than that. Yeah? Because that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Any discussion you get into about the Euro, the smartest thing to do, whatever anyone says to you about the Euro, is simply to reply, no, it's much more complicated than that. That way, you appear more intelligent and therefore win.
I'll start using that with everything.
It's genius, because the thing with the Euro, right, is there is a temptation, a pretty solid temptation with the Euro crisis to explain it all in terms of crude national stereotypes. There is a tendency to do that, right? But it's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than the idea that the Germans, oh look, over there, the Germans, it's much more complicated than the
My son told me an interesting fact. I think it's a fact. He said that he learned in school, I got to share this with you because I never knew this, that the reason why Adolf Hitler had that little tiny mustache, and you guys probably already know this, or you know the right reason and he misinformed me, we'll find out, was because when he was in the military and they did gas mask training, or when he was actually in active combat, I think they got a gas mask, like they got mustard gassed, and his mask wouldn't seal tight because he had too big of a mustache, so he trimmed it back that night so that the gas mask would fit properly going forward. It's a story my son told me. I don't know.
The idea that the Germans want to rule the world, right? And in order to do that, they make stuff people actually like and then sell it very successfully, right? No, it's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than the fact that the French only really want to work till they're 52, only really want to work till Thursday lunchtime, and expect the rest of us to fucking pay for it. No, it's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than the fact that Italy is basically one giant money laundering scheme. It's much more complicated. It's much more complicated than the fact that half of Spain is asleep and the other half hasn't got a fucking job. It's much more complicated. It's much more complicated than the fact that Ireland is Ireland. It's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than the fact that Polish people want to work. They want to work, they work hard, they do a good job, and they make the rest of us look like a bunch of slack, feckless wankers with our thumb up our arse who've forgotten the meaning of graft. No, it's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than that Greek bloke. You remember, you went on holiday, that Greek bloke who drove you from the airport to your villa, yeah, and he was only 3/4 of a mile, and he charged you 85 fucking euro. And that evening when he brought you your tea, he had his thumb in the hummus and tried to have sex with your daughter. No, it's much more complicated than that.
All that for $85?
The truth is, it's hard to explain. But whoever set it up must have known what they were doing, surely. Yeah? I mean, have we got any bankers present? Any bankers in? Banker and accountant, someone who understands? Up there. You're an accountant. Good girl. What's your name, love? Mandy. Mandy is handy with figures. Good girl. Now, Mandy, if I go to a bank to set up a business, right, they'll run some checks on me, won't they? Of course they will. Of course they
Yep.
will, right? So you think whoever set up the euro must have done some checks. They do checks. They do checks. They do checks on you, Mike, if you wanted to borrow money. On you, Dave, if you want to borrow on you, Paul. They do Stu. They do checks on all of us. Obviously, in my case, because I've died in 4 consecutive pub fires for tax, tax and insurance purposes, it's a little more difficult. But you just click the terms and conditions box on a website and the rest fucking happens. Now, the point is, right? Yeah, whoever set the euro up must have done some checks. They must have done a couple of checks. Perhaps on Greece, for instance, just to pick a name out of the hat. Maybe they checked that Greece, in its history, has defaulted, has gone bankrupt as a country 5 fucking times. In 1824, 1843, 1860, 1890 and 1932. You'd think they might have known that. You'd think they might have known the last time Greece was in a currency union, the Latin currency union, that ran to 1932. Greece was kicked out in 1908 for fiddling the fucking books and borrowing more money than they could afford to pay back. You'd think someone might have fucking checked.
Al's all worked up. I didn't know a country could completely go bankrupt and still exist, but they've done it 5 times? Wow.
Much more complicated than that. Now, the thing is...
I love that line now. I'm going to use it.
But I'm going to try and explain the euro now. I'm going to try and do it, right? Because it's difficult to understand. We've got Plod here. We want him to be able to get to the scene of the crime as quickly as possible. So, I'm going to explain it in terms that our special squad can understand. So...
I just want to point out, earlier he yelled, "Is anybody here in money? Anybody in money, money, money?" And finally that lady's like, "Screw it, I'll say I am." "I am." And she stood up and he's like, "Do they do background checks on people?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then he totally went off on something different, and that was the end of her. She stood there for a minute and sat back down like, I guess he's done with me.
The front row, you are now the mighty nations of Europe, all of you are now the mighty nations of Europe. I want to get your loose change out, your smallest shrapnel, just the tiniest bits and pieces you've got. Get your loose change out now. You are now the mighty nations of Europe, embarking on a single currency plan. I am the European Central Bank, right? I'm just going to come and pop down here. Okay, cough up, come on. And you, love. You haven't got any money, of course not. But, chuck it in, good boy. Across we come. Here we go, love. Excellent, good man. Cool, look at the size of that unit. Jesus. I didn't do it, officer. Okay. Come on, love. Mike hasn't got any money on him. Chuck it in. Oh, look at that. £4.50. You want to be Germany, do you? Okay. Come on. You haven't got any. Okay. Here we go. Chuck it in. Thanks, mate. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay. Fantastic. You are now the mighty nations of Europe. You have all contributed to me, the European Central Bank. You are now all members of the euro. You are now all of equal worth, equal value. You have the same currency, the euro. You are all the same. That goes in there. And that is the end of that section of the show.
What a great explanation, right? I mean, hey, you know, he explained it to you. He even had, like, you know, what do you call it? Like props or visual aids. You get visual aids during this presentation. And it also is a way for him to do this every time he does the show and make an extra $8. Gotta love that, right? Pays for parking, right, Al? Al Murray. Such a great, genius, hilarious, funny mind that he can take and kind of give you a little lesson on things and teach you about something or talk history with you and make you laugh at the same time. Al Murray is such a he's such a national treasure for you folks, I would imagine. I mean, like, I don't know. We don't have like an Al Murray over here. That's why I like yours so much, because I don't have one. Anyhow, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to go play the European Union trick tomorrow with a bunch of people I meet at the park. See how much money I can make. I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Thanks for the recommendation on the Discord server. You guys take care of yourselves. Be good. Squirrel out.